mystery of life. An encounter with a new form of beauty, we are moved. First comes the creation of new beauty. Then the continuing creation of new forms of beauty. For more than 20 years, in the fast-paced world of fashion, one man has lived with these miracles. One man. The Issey Miyake Paris collection, a collection by a Japanese designer, was voted the very best by the world's leading fashion journalists in 2 consecutive seasons, October 1992 and March 1993. His pleats designs, launched in 1988, have created a new plastic beauty and functionality.
やっぱりやり続けるかどうかという疑問もあるし、80年代の末にこれはまずいぞということをすごく早く気がついたんですね。絶望感を持ったと言ったらいいか、そこから抜け出すのをどうするかということの作業の一つにプリーツがあったということですし、スタッフもそれに早く気づいてくれたというかね。
Pleats are a skillful use of contemporary Japanese materials and technology. Then there's twist, created by hand twisting. These new design concepts are worthy of the term invention. Drawn to the depths in Issey Miyake clothes, I embarked on a journey through the world of his work. Naoshima, an island in Japan's inland sea. Here Issey was to hold an exhibition as the opening event at the Naoshima Contemporary Art Museum. The exhibition is only 3 weeks away. Display staff from Issey's company, Miyake Design Studio, had gone ahead to Naoshima. Now he's about to check their work. Come to think of it, in my 3 years' journey in taping Issey, I heard him talk on many occasions about how important working with his staff members is.
僕の場合はね、ご覧のようにいろんなスタッフがいて、そのスタッフとみんなで作ってるから、で僕も最初はね、それ随分葛藤したんだけど、でもあれだけのインダストリーを相手にし、ビジネス相手にし、素材開発もしなきゃいけない、技術的に発展しなきゃいけない、デザイン的に発展しなきゃ、リサーチしなきゃいけない。リサーチのためにはものすごい人が必要ですよ。スタッフワークの時に何を一番言ってるかというと、行動してないと怒っちゃうというか、腹立っちゃうっていうか何やってんだっていうことになってしまうというね。やっぱり一番もしかしてみんなが迷ったりいろいろしてる時に言ってる時は、工場さん行ってごらんとか、あそこ行って話し合ってごらんとか、そういう人間の体を動かすことを言ってるような気がしますね。
8 months before the visit to Naoshima, the showing of the Issey Miyake collection in Paris, the fashion world's main stage, Issey was awarded thunderous applause, for there he unveiled a new group of clothes that embodied a radical idea. He called them twist. These rumples and wrinkles are created by twisting each piece by hand. They shove aside the conventional idea that a wrinkle is something to smooth out. These new shapes are a tapestry of light and shadow. And they're modern. Bundle them up and they're ready to put away. They're perfect for travel. The exhibition on Naoshima is also called Twist. The display for the Naoshima exhibition isn't going very well. Tokujin Yoshioka of the Miyake Design Studio is in charge.
僕はカラーのものがすごく面白いと思うけどね。カラーのあんまりやりすぎるとちょっと嬉しくない。
Issey has him try spreading out all the pieces again.
僕は向こうのものにものすごくパワーを感じるんですやっぱり。僕はねやっぱりそれからねプロセスがあるんだよ。それはね絶対にデザインの勝負だってねデザインの素晴らしさだってねこういうものとこういうものと例えばこういうものとのねまあ極端に言えばこうなるわけだよね。違うでもう一つこれに必要なのは元型が欲しい。これじゃ分かんない。4つ欲しい。つまり元型っていうのはこれは全然しつけ意図してないもの欲しい。もっとワクワクするようにしようよ。それなんかも素晴らしい。
I remember when Twist was first launched. I went with Issey's staff members to a plant producing pleats in northeast Japan, where no camera had ever entered before. That was during the preparations for the Paris collection. The twist process begins when the piece has been completed in its basic form. Then it's folded. The folding process is critical. It adds to the fascination of twist. Naoki Takizawa, chief of the design staff at Miyake Design Studio, moves about comfortably through the factory. Kiyoshi Takahashi, who's in charge of work for Issey here, advises on how to use the machine. The pieces have been folded into mysterious shapes. Then they twist it, and patiently twist it again. Then they twist it even harder until the piece is wrung so tightly it can't be twisted anymore. The fabric is polyester, sometimes silk. These materials change shape in the high heat of an oven. Once the heat sets the wrinkles, the twisting process forms. They won't come out, even if you wash the piece. From the machine-pleated pleats, we see an evolution to twist, which is twisted by hand. The interaction between the human hand and the machine is creating something new in clothing. 40 minutes later, they take the pieces out. The wrinkles gather at the folds to engender powerful currents of light and shadow. The press series was incubated at the same time as Twist. It takes imagination to see where to tie it and how it will clothe the body. These have been pressed into amusing shapes. Making a piece includes processes that bring the texture of the cloth to perfection. Usually, cloth is cut and sewn only after all the processes that determine its texture, roughness and gloss for instance, have been completed. But here, the conventional wisdom has been shattered. The shape of the piece and its texture are set simultaneously. The idea set me free. They've started all over again with the Twist exhibition layout.
だったらかっこいいんだけどね。ね、あれが赤だったらもっとおかしいんだけどさ、同じ色じゃないとね。そしたらさ、いやーって感じでさ、これがこんな服になるんだっていうね、暗黙の了解ができればいいんだけど。
その方法をやるんでしたら規則的に並べた方が良くないですか？
うん、だからそれはだから光がさどっかからさスパーッと入っててさね、それがそういう方法になってるとかさ。
That day's work was unforgettably tense. To communicate the design process and the freedom of design, Issei's desire generated tensions that filled the space as evening stretched on towards midnight.
小学君、ツイストが100本来たとしたら100本でロープができるかもしれない。ここの中にでもうね、立体的にね、ガッとバーンしてね。
Issey Miyake moves. That's what I'd been seeing, Issei in motion. First comes the creation of new beauty. Then, the continuing creation of new forms of beauty. I watched Issei to divine how he does it. He moves. His body moves. Moved by curiosity, moving through pain. And he moves until a moment comes when that pain turns to joy. Early that year, Issei had received the prestigious 1991 Asahi Prize in Japan. In 1993, the French government awarded him the Legion of Honor, and the Royal College of Art in Britain granted him an honorary doctorate. Issei's old friends held a party to celebrate his receiving the Asahi Prize and his 54th birthday. Issei was born in Hiroshima in 1938. As the years pass, fewer Japanese will infer from that fact that he lived through the atomic bombing.
尊敬してきたのはやっぱり勇さんっていうことですね。中学校頃だと思うけど、広島で橋ができたんですよね。その橋のデザインというものに行って、はあ、こんな新しい、こんな楽しいものができるんだって。
I went to see the bridge for myself. It's one of two bridges by the late sculptor Isamu Noguchi. One is called Yuku, or departure. Noguchi designed it in the shape of a boat, as though the souls of those who died in the atomic bombing were going to God. The other is in the shape of the sun, and is called tsukuru, creation. Works by Noguchi are installed in Issei's Tokyo workroom. As a high school student, Issei was inspired by the show window of a dressmaking shop opened by one of the people who had returned to Hiroshima after emigrating to Hawaii. He began creating clothes while at Tama Art University. After graduation, Issei was off to Paris to learn at the Fountainhead. He entered a school that specialized in haute couture, making custom clothes. That was back in the mid-1960s, when haute couture still led the world of fashion. At the end of the 60s, the rise of ready-to-wear for the mass market opened a new era. Issei's name appears among the list of 1966 graduates. In 1970, he incorporated the Miyake Design Studio in Tokyo with just about $1,800 in capital. He was 31.
本当に僕はね、いつもそこにいたって感じする。その時そこにいたっていうか、まあ、原爆でしょ。それからね、日本のこういう成長の時もいたし、その中での辛い思いもあるけど、まあそういう意味では人に負けないなというかね、人に負けないっていうか、どうだいっていう感じの、出会いだったような気がしますね。それを生かしたかどうかよく分かんないけどね、そうですね、そうなるね。
A workshop on Madeleine Vionnet, a designer who means a great deal to Issei. Betty Kirk, the teacher invited to the studio for this workshop, has given 2 decades to research on Vionnet. And at last, that work has been published in book form. Vionnet was active from the 1910s to the 1930s, the age of haute couture. The rise of ready-to-wear clothing came 1/4 of a century later. Kirk shows staff members at the Miyake Design Studio how to recreate a Vionnet style. They learn by actually making one, using test cloth. A Vionnet signature is her use of geometric calculations, working in, for instance, diamonds.
既製服入ってくる時にね、当時さんこれだもんね、ひし形でしょ。知らなかったんだね、ビオネのことをね。で、これやってる頃にビオネにあったわけね。で、これは大変だぞと思うんですよ。コマなんです。これも全部長方形ですよね。全部長方形がこう変化してくる。ビオネの服はどっちかと体をこう上に彫刻して、僕はもう体からポンと離しながら、ね、好きになってくれっていう、もうちょっとその大胆というかいい加減というか、これは1枚いるので、これがまあ代表作です。
One piece of cloth is Issei's basic idea. He often talks about being in Europe in the 60s and seeing the heyday of complex clothes that follow the lines of the body that package flesh. By letting clothes get some distance from the body and by giving them fullness and movement, he brought forth a new freedom.
これはね、エジプトの行ってアレクサンドルに向かってずっとナイル川下がってる時に帆掛け船があるでしょ。あれ見て風と文字というんで、それでやったんですよ。動くとファーッとこういうね、大きなね、なんだっけ、風光系じゃなくて、なんであるでしょ、こういうあれみたいな吹き流し、あのようなね、あれだってね、ゾクゾクってくるんですよ、やっぱり。だからまあこの辺はね、日本人がどのくらいそういった人間の体や自然や風やいろんなものからどうその対応し合うかっていう、そういうリサーチやってたんですよね。一世三宅の仕事は方程式を作ったんじゃないか。そしたら方程式をある程度作っておくと、その上にいろんな応用問題を乗っけていけばいいわけです。それ応用問題ってことは時代ということなんですね。そういうふうに考えたんだけど苦労してます。
Issei revealed a new idea, pleats, in mid-autumn of 1988. Freely flowing pleats. Dubbed Issei pleats, they trumpet the joy of discovery. I felt energized. I said that I'd like to create a TV program that would combine both a documentary approach and a video art appreciation of his work. Come to think of it, in the hypersensitive world of fashion, we saw signs of the 90s and the late 80s. Pleats was Issey's bridge from the 80s to the 90s.
僕80年代末頃もやっぱりこんな服をたくさん作って夢の姉妹着も服を作ってんじゃないかと自問自答ありましたね。デザイン的にどうだったんだって言われたら80年代ねえっていう感じですね。80年代の末にこりゃまずいぞということをすごく早く気がついたんですね。絶望感を持ったと言ったらいいか、そこから抜け出すのをどうするかということの作業の一つにプリーツがあったということですし、スタッフもそれに早く気づいてくれたというかね。
Half a year later, Issey showed his next collection in Tokyo at his studio. Isamu Noguchi's sculpture stood guard over the show. The sculptor had died not long before. Since then, every season has seen a new incarnation of pleats. Bamboo, flower, moonlight, rhythm. These are some of the names given the evolving pleat species. I asked to have the production of the first year's pleats reenacted. Ordinarily, cloth is pleated and then sewn into a garment. A pleated skirt, for instance. What makes Issey's pleats so different is that the pleating is the very last step after the sewing is finished. The first step is sewing the piece. But it's hard to believe that this is supposed to be worn. It's so strangely shaped and rectilinear, and too big. Next, they fold it. These folds give the piece more life. That's a perception Issey also applied in the Twist series. The piece is fed into the pleating machine. To get the pleats running diagonally, the rectangle of folded cloth is fed in from one corner. Gears fold the cloth, sandwiched in paper to make the pleats. The machine also generates the high temperatures that set the pleats if the fabric is, for instance, polyester. Once the pleats have been set, they will not wash out. In this case, the pleating takes about 1 minute. Pleats of the same design come pouring off the machine, all the same. Not one-of-a-kind sculpture or painting. This process has a pop art appeal. Pleating on the diagonal distorts the rectangle lengthwise, so that it forms a fascinating diamond shape. That's because the cloth is drawn up in the direction the pleats were applied. I also realized that when you unfold the piece, the flow of pleats changes along the fold lines. Put this piece on, and it turns into a beautifully draped blouse. It's magic. By folding and then pleating simple cloth, the clothes are filled with air and freed from the commonplace assumption that clothes follow the lines of the body. Issey's formula for one piece of cloth had come alive.
いやデザインっていうのはリサーチの中で生まれるんじゃないかというか、 それでやっぱりデザインには、ポジティブじゃないと発想に生というものがないといけないというか、生きるということがね、そういうエネルギーがないとダメなんではないかというふうに思いますね。僕はね、デザインっていうのはね、時代に対する怒りとか思いとかもいろいろあると思うんです。そういうものがないとやっぱデザインっていうのはしないと思うんですね。つまり自分じゃなきゃできないんじゃないかと、この思いを表現したい。でもデザインというのは受け手があるのと、それとやっぱりデザインというものは美しいなとか、何か嬉しいなとか、なんか親というものがですね、やっぱり目覚めさしくもないと受け手との関係が成り立たないんではないかというふうに思うんです。だから学生が怒りを表現したりね、一つのアンチテーゼとしてなんか世の中に出ていく時の姿勢としてはね、23年は許されてもですね、最初はねそれに見えたとしても、やっぱりそこにはこういうことだったんだって肯定させる力がないといけない。肯定させるのためにはそれ喜びになってないといけないというか、なるほどと思わせるね、何か深いものがなきゃいけないと思いますね。
The Theatre Châtelet in Paris. The Ballet Frankfurt performed, costumed in Issey pleats under the direction of William Forsythe. They are one of the most renowned dance troupes in the world. I later invited them to the video studio in Tokyo. I wanted to express the dynamic play of light and shadow in pleats through dance. In May, Forsythe had sent Issey photographs, suggesting what his new ballet would be. The tentative title was Handheld Cloud. The performance was just a month away. Design the costumes however you like, Forsythe said. The photographs were Issey's only clue.
4人で5人じゃないの4人はねで行けるとこまでこっち側のでそこら辺から今度こっち側に戻っていくように
ここら辺でこうなんかすごい私のも細いけど、
俺も山本さんのとこ1枚になってるから先の方がなかなか、手が麻痺してくんだよね、すごい薄いじゃないですか、こんなんじゃない
どうしよう
やりにくいだから厚ければ厚くなるほどやりやすいんですよね、
厚すぎてもやりにくい
やりにくいけど
じゃあバラすよ、はいもったいない今こういうふうにこれ誰？ふかちゃんやったのかしこれ綺麗じゃん。
ここが俺ここにピーッと入れちゃって
本当はこうやっちゃってこう押すの一番だよね。違うのか。それ一番いいじゃん。
良ければいいんだけど。
面白いよね。
ただすごい熱くなるから今度は
ちょっと針が余って
なんかいい方法だよね。
これでいいって言えばいいんですかね。これで3歩
じゃあ散歩で寄ってみる？はい。
これでやってみます。これやっていくときに考えるのが一番ですね。やりながら考えるのが。
やりやすい？やりやすい。まだ防災数は。
At the same time, a new technique, heat cutting, was being used experimentally in pleats. Heat, not scissors, cut the cloth. Heat treating, not sewing, finished the cloth. This application too was Issey's idea, another message for the clothing of the future. That's research. They did their calculations so that the ovals would turn into circles after pleating. These are the Lithuanian team uniforms for the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona. They were designed to meet the team's request, expressing the joy of having so recently been set free from the Soviet Union. The costumes for the Ballet Frankfurt returned from the plant.
Could you show me the back, please? 滝沢君、ちょっと胸が開きすぎてダンスは踊れない。アフリカのさ人が頭をこう巻いていくでしょ。ああいうのがさーっとたくさんタコみたいになってるとね。ツイストというよりもなんていうの捻転みたいなねじってくるね。もうなんかそういう感じ馬場君表現できないかな。そういうのから動いた時に全体がバーッと試散していくというかね、その感じ狙いたいわけだから。ファッションというか服で終わらないじゃなくてもう一つ進めとかないと。
But the costumes didn't suit Forsyth's choreography. They decided to save them for his next ballet. Instead, they chose twist pieces that had already been shown in Issey's collection. Issey flew to Paris, where Forsyth's ballet was to be mounted. Issey brought a new idea for wearing twist. A handshake with Forsyth.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Bonjour, ça va? Bonjour, je suis quelque chose. ラジオにね、みんなが着てないものと何がある？ Could you do this way? Tight here, okay? Once cross. Go
this way.
Tight here.
Issey wanted the dancers to have fun layering the pieces freely. But Forsyth didn't appreciate that approach. He liked the way twist fits like a second skin. Between them, electricity. Issey was working on his 1993 Paris Spring and Summer collection, in between designing the William Forsyth and Ballet Frankfurt costumes, the Olympic uniforms, and the twist exhibition. The quest for a new slant on pleats and twist for the collection continued.
ツイストの方が、私ちょっとここでね技を使いたいんですよ。ワンピースがあるのね、それをねちょっとねツイストを途中で止めたいんですよ。これつまりここつまんでこう伸びるじゃない、とか入ってくるでしょ。こういうふうにずっとこうやって入っていって、ここら辺でいって、そしてここでやめたいの。ツイスト、で上半身だけそうするとこれ当然シェイプしますよね、体につきますよね。で下半身はちょっとこれ分量感がどうかっていうとこれやってみないとわからないんだけど、もっとあった方がいいような気がするんだけど、でこう上半身だけで絞ってあとは離しておきたい。
The three men twist this piece with all their might.
ちょっと袖が太いね。太いのが出てくる。ここがかかってるから、ここかかってない分だけやったらね、こうやっちゃうと。もうちょっと絞りが面白いというけどな、もうちょっと若干さきついとね、この感じがすごい出るのにね。ここまで二重になってる。ここだけ。
Issey tried to rescue this dress, but I could sense he wasn't happy with it. In the end, he dropped it from the show.
これすごいでしょ。ここだけ紙みたいなものだからこれ。ペーパーエステルっていうくらいだから。
ああ熱いな。入れて入んないことはないか。この細さじゃいかないな。こうさ、こういう状態でこういう状態に潰してこれをひねるとかさ、で上がったものがこうでさ、それは今までのほらプレスと違って立体なわけさ、上がればこうなんだからね、でそういうの一つぐらいいいかなと思ったんだ。こういう表情になるのか。
今回はねでもねちょっとその方向性を持ちたいんだよね。全部にこう流れをつけて流れを止めて離す。
At the plant, Kiyoshi Takahashi, who's been in charge of producing Issey pleats from the beginning, is a critical partner in the creative process. Everyone moves and makes discoveries. They twist the pleated clothing by hand. This series made it to market. This is a basic form for a dress, 8 meters long. When pleated, it contracts to fit a woman's height. And then it was twisted. Pleat, then twist, pleats and twist. The result is a dress that makes a strong statement. This fabric called out for new discoveries. Not pleating, not twisting, but knotting. But this dress and idea were not used in the show. The clothes actually shown represent only a small part of the ideas they've put in motion. It's all research. You mustn't be afraid to move. While I visited the studio during the basting of the Paris collection, the doubts I'd felt gradually disappeared. Issey's clothes are often described as artistic, but they're actually extremely easy to wear. The shapes permitting freedom of movement, the non-raveling stitches, the positions of the pockets and their number. These clothes combine the practical and the artistic. How does he create that balance? The answer is a struggle down to the last millimeter.
一つ問題はね、日常ということからいくとちょっとね胸が開きすぎてて、あと5ミリからぐらい口来てちょっと開けれない。もう少しね。後ろはダメだよ。こんな後ろ抜けちゃう。ね、着物みたいなイメージだね。こんなもう3、4センチ。後ろもっとまっすぐで動けますね。7ミリぐらい。あと線をきれいにもう一回整理して工夫しましたみたいに見えないこと。 T シャツというのはさ、何気なく作ったらしょうがない。この一列だけ黒くしてこの一列だけこんなことしよう一言も言ってない。
Issey also plans the bones of the show.
考え方は滝沢君ね、フォーサイズ最初出して舞台にね、その出し方相談するけども、それで彼らを観客と見立てる。 フォーサイスに見せてやろうという形でショーをやろうと思って。
Issey arrived in Paris 5 days before the show. Every year, the leading journalists vote for the best collection of the previous season, and the results are revealed at this time. The winner, Issey Miyake. In the 20 years that Issey has been showing in Paris, he's always been among the top ranked. But this was his first time to be voted #1. They're putting on the finishing touches, but to my astonishment, Issey is still teaching his staff.
そして一回こうやって中へ通してだね。わかる？こうやってグッとこうやってここで一遍買っとくと、あとはもう自由にアレンジできる。はい。
In that, I felt the impact of all the years he spent in creative work. Issey's staff members came in from New York and London. He has the overseas staff members try on the collection, for the clothes have to be felt from inside.
This is a very ecological idea. It's a clothes for 21st century. 21st century, you are not going to wear plastic. You had to use Livon fabric. Otherwise, the earth is going to die. Really. This is avant-garde. You know, people say avant-garde is always, unwearable clothes. That's not. Avant-garde is beyond the time.
Avant-garde is beyond time. Color was an issue. The trend in the previous Paris collections was a powerfully dark black full of negative energy.
彼女ブルー合わないかな、ロリ。どっちがいい？ロリーとジュリア変えてください。でね、ロリーのとエレーナ変えてほしいんだったり。それロリーそれ。
Design needs depth, affirmation. And I felt he tried to pack that message into the colors. The morning of the show. The location is the Louvre by the Seine. For this collection, the catalog given to members of the audience included a special message from Issey himself on the first page. This collection will mark my 40th women's collection since I first showed in Paris 20 years ago in 1973. I feel most fortunate that this beautiful city has been so receptive and encouraging to the creative input of designers from so many different parts of the world.
Dream come true.
The Ballet Frankfurt dancers in Forsyth arrive.
Oh,
nice coat.
Yeah. Okay. You open the show, but it makes them happy. It's a very energetic collection, simple and everything wearable, but very alive. Makes people happy and wake up. It goes like that. Okay. Clothes is honora. This time not stiff, going like that, jumping, Yeah, you have nothing under. No.
It's not heavy at all.
It's for those trampoline strutting,
They begin improvising the choreography. There's only an hour and a half until the show starts.
2/8 of walks and then 2/8 of hula and 1 more 8 of walk.
What should we do? No, we need. What's that?
If we're doing the garden walk for 8, and then at the end we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3.
He watches the show from the audience. Even after 20 years of showing Paris collections, the strain looks hard to bear. a gleam of tears. Once again, his collection wins the journalist's top vote. And 6 months later, I was able to invite the dancers of the Ballet Frankfurt to Tokyo and start my research on a vision.